What's most impressive is the fact that you're scoring goals and the
Yeah.
rest of everyone else isn't.
When everything started to happen in September, 2013, and we really, it came to clinics as a bit of a surprise from what I understand and from speaking to many other therapists and clinics that are outside of our business. And whilst I appreciate that associations and lots of other people have had a good understanding of what's been going on or this potentially happening for some time now, the majority of the industry was certainly caught by surprise with regards to the Medibank changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess from there, I decided to make a phone call because nobody could really give us a straight answer at an association level, which was rather frustrating. And look, I'm not saying that associations weren't doing a lot of work. By all accounts, there's a hell of a lot of work that's being done at an association level, but I mean, from my point of view and others in the industry, we weren't really fully understanding of what was going on. And, if that's got to do with the way that they were communicating or how they were, or just people not reading their communication, I think it was a combination of a lot of things, to be honest. So I made a phone call through to Peter Dunn, who was the ancillary manager of Medibank at the time, and basically said that we're a clinic and we've got a database of 30,000 plus clients, and if we can't get some straight answers, then we're going to send out an email detailing what we think is happening. And very quickly we were able to speak to somebody, and I guess we've got a unique way of being able to do that associations perhaps don't, because they're operating at their level and we're at a business level where we have the ability to access thousands of clients which are members of these private health funds. So that is where I feel like we have a point of difference in comparison to the associations. And that was what I started to understand back then. So from there, that's when I started to become a little involved in the process and have a bit of a better understanding of what was really happening. There was definitely some fibs being told from a Medibank end that were, I have no doubt, infuriating to the associations and then in turn to us. But we then very, very quickly started to become affected by the changes. And because we're a big clinic with lots of therapists, and because of the industry we work in, and getting highly skilled therapists into the business as quickly as they move into other modalities and into other industries, we knew pretty quickly it was going to be something that was going to continue to affect us until until it was fixed or the process was changed or whatever it may be. Anyway, I started to speak with some of the contacts and associations back then, and I was heavily discouraged to stay away from getting involved and to be speaking to anybody at the higher levels of Medibank. They asked me to stay away from it. And so I respected that to a certain point, and to a certain time, because it started to get closer and closer to when the review was taking place in April this year. And it seemed to me like there was nothing happening. There was no changes. And then once I was updated on the outcome of the review findings, which was late last year, I was very concerned. So that was then when I made contact. I decided, righto, associations have been meeting with governments, representatives in different levels, state, federal, different departments. But have any of the businesses in Australia tried to come and approach it from our level as opposed to an association level? And that's where I felt as though we had a point of difference, and we may be able to bring something else to the table from potential issues that could take place that they may not have considered, or may not have been presented from an association level. So that's basically where we started to make some progress, and we were granted a meeting with one of the lead advisors to the health minister, the previous health minister, Peter Dutton, late last year, so just before Christmas, and we had a meeting then, and I went into their offices in Brisbane, and meeting went very well in regards to the fact that they stated that we presented new information that they hadn't seen. And this information was relating to the potential risk to the Australian public surrounding high caps. Look, we understand that private health funds, some of them are going to keep their rebates in place, potentially. We don't know. Look, they're private health funds, and the advisor made it very, very clear to me they cannot control what they're going to do if they remove the rebates, which is, I totally understand. You know, and if you're using simple logic, I would imagine some will keep it, some will heavily reduce the rebate, some may remove it. We really don't know what their decision is going to be. I have tried to make contact with a couple of the private health funds to get an understanding of whether they would even give us a small smidget of information. But as you can imagine, I was met with a lot of big hands in my face over the phone. So I did try that angle, but I'm getting nothing. So, look, we presented the information regarding risk. We presented the information in relation to potential loss of jobs in the industry through showing them trends of data on how our business has been impacted by just Medibank making restrictions on a portion of the therapists that are in our industry and within our business so far. Because we've got a very big clinic and one of the biggest in the country, we felt that we've got enough data to indicate a trend or a pattern. So that's why I thought it was worthwhile giving it a crack to show them these trends, because our business has absolutely been negatively impacted since this change took place. And we were able to present that. What was that?
Can you go into that just in a little bit of detail, like like percentage-wise or whatever?
Sure, hang on. Let me get you some data. Look, from a percentage point of view, we're looking at least 10% so far. And look, you can, because we've had at any given time at least between 3 and up to 6 therapists that Medibank clients could not claim with. I personally pick up the phone here when our receptionists we've got phone lines overflowed. And just myself personally, the amount of calls I've had to take, and those clients, we could not get them in any way, shape or form, and they did not want to see a therapist unless they could claim on the spot with that person. And I totally understand that. If I was a client, I'd want the same. So that 10%, given our business has had growth every single year since we started tracking this data back in 2005, we've had growth every single year of our existence of business. The one key thing that has changed for us since then was this situation. We've had, across our existence, we've had price increases, we've had the GFC, we've had all sorts of things that our business has encountered, but we still grew every single year. This is the first time that we've had this kind of an impact, and we know why it is. And that's why we feel that presenting the numbers and showing the impact since that date and that month would clearly indicate that something has clearly gone wrong. And this is the kind of impact that our business and all the businesses across Australia will potentially have if this rebate is removed. Because this is just one health fund. Whilst they are a major player and they hold somewhere in the vicinity, depending on which report you read, between 25 and 40% of the market share of private health. It depends which report. But, you know, it's common sense and logic. If the other health funds were to remove rebates altogether, or to reduce rebates, or to restrict therapists that, you know, people or their members can claim with, a similar trend is going to happen. You know, there will be variations of the situation, but restrictions, reduction in the amount they can claim, it will all come with the same impact, which is less people being able to claim their treatments and less people wanting to book in because they either can't claim with that therapist or they have no funds left within their, you know, their private health pool. So it's a clear trend.
That could mean potentially along the lines of what some health funds have done, where they annex you to a special agreement with the health fund that you won't charge over X number of dollars for a specific treatment for their clients.
Yes.
So that would make most sense in terms of what they would want to do. And that would be my biggest worry.
Yeah. Their ability to be able to control heavily what will happen within our industry. I mean, look, at the moment, they're already trying to, they're a private health fund. Medibank's changes they're scary, the changes that they've made, because they actually have no idea what they've done. They've restricted, therapists that have studied in certain colleges, and they're not basing, the qualification on hours of contact. They're just going across a 12-month calendar year. And I personally know colleges that their curriculum were of way better standard of some of the ones that were actually stretching it out over a year was just less contact hours. And it's heavily concerning because it's simply illogical. And they're trying to, in a way, regulate our industry for their private health fund as to what they will accept, but they've got no idea what they're doing. And all of them are going to have the same ability to do this with the less money and funding that's going to be coming through. They're going to be wanting to restrict more. They're going to be wanting to be, safeguarding themselves. So, I don't know, it's concerning. And so we're trying to help the government see that they take it away, the impact that will have long-term on our industry, and also long-term on, obviously, the general public and their ability to gain access to great level of care across the country is of a great concern.
Now, that was I just got this article here from The Australian on the 6th of January this year that basically said, we've had a good look at everything and it doesn't look like any of these therapies do much at all. And if they do anything, if they do anything at all, it's minuscule. Yeah. So on that basis, it's not looking good for every alternative therapy. And it was interesting that that they lumped them all in together and that they couldn't find any evidence. And I've seen a couple of the submissions that were given to them, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yep.
There was solid research, and I can't imagine what a physiotherapist or a chiropractor or an osteopath could produce that's any better in terms of the research that they were providing them.
Yeah, and I do feel for the associations on that level, because some of the research that they've provided across many people's opinions within our industry was of a very high standard, but apparently it wasn't enough for the review panel. So it's disappointing, to put it plainly.
So, and this all started back in 2012, didn't it? That they got the thing underway. I said we're going to have a look at alternative health in the Australian private health insurance system, and see whether it's stacking up, and seeing whether the federal government was blowing their money by subsidising those alternative therapies by 30%. Because I think a lot of people don't quite understand what the actual issue is. They just think that like Work Cover did here in 2005, I think it was 2006, they kind of shut down any new remedial massage therapists into Work Cover. Then it was the Veteran Affairs, and then the Medibank thing, and now this, and it's just we're kind of being pushed into a box.
And look, there is good reason for it. There's a lot of clinics and practitioners out there that are absolutely doing wrong by the system, and we've got them to thank for largely the position that we're in. And because of that portion of it's a small portion of our industry, but there's enough of them to justify, private health funds like Medibank to say 90% of the clinics that we went to review were in fact fraudulently claiming. Well, obviously, when you pick a bunch of people that are already concerning and then you go and review their clinics and audit them, and 90% of them are in fact making fraudulent claims, well, that's clear they're skewing the data, because they were already going to clinics that they knew there was something fishy going on. So, it was frustrating to see them report those statistics and findings when they already knew that they were approaching clinics that they're doing something wrong. If they had thrown a fishing net over clinics in Sydney or Brisbane, I'm sure that the data that they would have found and the results would have been very, very different. But, because they can present that information in the boardroom, it's very easy for them to make decisions to reduce overall, an annual allowance from Remedial Massage on one of the most popular levels of cover from, what was it, $450 or $550 a year to $100, you know, and that was not heavily advertised to their members from all accounts of our clients that are in here. A lot of them didn't know about it until they went to claim their third treatment for the year and they're wondering what the hell's going on. So, you know, in Medibank's eyes, they're justifying themselves through these clinics that have done wrong in the industry. And, you know, because our industry isn't regulated and it won't be anytime soon, you know, it costs too much to regulate an industry from all accounts and conversations that I've had. And there's no way they're going to have to put the funding towards something like our industry for a very long time. And so we just kind of have to take that on the chin from all I understand and conversations I've had so far and do our best outside of that. So yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Now, I did hear one account of one therapist who had 18 provider numbers with Medibank Private.
Yeah.
He was
and that's why they restricted it down to 3, however long ago, 2 years. And, you know, I had a chat with Peter Dunn on the phone when this originally all broke out, and he told me that there was a therapist in Sydney that had something like 45 treatment claims in one day under their name. And it's like, well, really, you go and audit that clinic. What else were you expecting to find? I mean, for me, that is clear and easy guidelines and systems to put in place within a private health fund. More than, say, 10 claims in a day for one therapist, it's extremely suspicious. So, you know, you've got to have little red flags that are built into systems to be able to work these sorts of things out. They should have it for doctors, they should have it for physios, chiros, everything. So, I mean, I'm no IT technician, so I don't know how you set up those sorts of things, but I'm pretty sure that it's doable. So, you know, I just feel like there's systems that can be put in place to safeguard themselves from those sorts of things, but they either choose not to or they're already doing it and they're just using this as an excuse. I'm not sure. It's a bit frustrating.
That's really what it feels like. It feels like we're being pushed into this corner and then everyone's standing there and pointing at us going, aha, we got you. And it was just like we could see we know what's happening. So
yeah,
surely they know what's happening.
It's opportunistic is what it is. They see an opportunity to justify making changes and saving a hell of a lot of money, and they took it and they've run with it. And, you know, it's clever from a business point of view, but will their members care? That is where I feel as though us as people that are running little clinics, big clinics, whatever you are, our opportunity to help clients understand their options is something that we absolutely need to be on top of. Leading up to the review, outside, the other side of the review, you know, whatever happens, our clients need to know which health fund they're going to get the best bang for their buck from, which health funds have restricted and made changes, which ones haven't. These are the sorts of things which I feel we'd be crazy not to be doing at a clinic level. And, you know, leading into this review, we've got the meeting that is lined up in 2 weeks' time. And all we are hoping to present there, which I'm currently struggling with, you know, one of the questions you've asked is what do we need to do as an industry from here? You know, Brad Hiskins has helped by sending out the email via the STT site, which was asking for clinics, whether you're a one-man band or you have a few therapists, anybody out there that has been negatively impacted by the restrictions that Medibank, HCF and Bupa have made over the last sort of year and a half, we have to be able to present some data across more than one clinic, and that is what the advisor stated to me in my last meeting. She wanted to meet with me again in the new year. However, thanks to Tony Abbott, he changed his health minister literally a day after I'd met with her. It was the world's worst luck. But she made it very clear to me that the information was new, it was of benefit, it was interesting, the health minister hadn't seen it before, and I needed to present it across more than one clinic. So that is where, you know, the associations don't necessarily have access to that data, even though they said that they've run their own independent reports. One of the associations did say that they'd run their own reports and it was only impacted by 10%. And the fact that they said only by 10%, or I nearly fell off my chair, you know, it's one private health fund. So 10% is seriously significant for a business. So, you know, if we were to drop by 10% with one health fund making a change, it's fairly common sense to say, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5 makes the similar restrictions, then what will happen? So, you know, I've got to get together this data. Currently, I am struggling. We have an issue that, you know, lots of clinics and therapists and business owners don't track this data at all, or very well, or consistently. So therefore, I've had probably contact from about 3, 4 different clinics thus far. And at this stage, none of the data that has been sent to me is actually going to be presentable for the meeting, which is really, you know, it's concerning, a bit frustrating. However, at a minimum, I know that I can present our data, and because we are one of the biggest clinics in the country, I know that they'll still pay attention to it because it's a new minister, and potentially if they do want to give me more time, they may. But then again, I still don't know whether I'm going to be able to get the data that I need. So I guess if anything, as a way that if there's anyone out there that can help, it is taking the time to have a look over trends of data since this change has been made. It's only going to impact businesses and clinics that have had therapists which have had restrictions and changes. So it has to be that and no other significant change in your business that's really obvious, like, you know, you've dropped half of your staff levels or something like that. You know, our staffing levels have been maintained quite consistently. So they're the first things that obviously they're going to be asking if there's been significant changes in your business that could have otherwise impacted this. And for us, it's pretty simple and clear for us because our staffing levels have stayed consistent. And this is what's helping us show that the trend is definitely come from that.
What are the key indicators that you need from therapists or clinics?
I'm not sure whether you've seen the email that went out, but it's simple hours. Like, all we need is a year-on-year or month-by-month comparison in the format in which that email went out. That is simply all that would be needed. And obviously, if there is a downward trend since, you know, the Medibank change, that is going to indicate similarly to what we have that is going to help back our data. So that's simply what we need. And it's difficult because not all clinics and businesses have had therapists that have been impacted. Some have, but maybe only for a few months, and then that therapist potentially left, is what some clinics have been telling me. And you've got situations where some of them went on holidays for several months, so then their data wasn't the same, and, you know, there's been all sorts of variables, and when it's a smaller clinic, that can skew the data heavily. So yeah, that's the issues at the moment. We need to find people that have got a clear trend, and business as usual has been going on since that trend took place and changed.
And in the absence of that information, what your next
arrow
that you're going to be taking?
Look, I know that I'll be going with the same presentation of information that I went to the last advisor, because they listened to that and they paid attention to it. So I'll be going with that. And, you know, as far as I don't really need additional assistance with anything else other than data from other clinics and trends. So I feel like we've got what we need to be able to get them to listen thus far. Other than that, as far as how other people can help, you know, I think the biggest thing is really getting support behind that petition. You know, some people believe that petition may not make much of an impact. I'm lucky to have a fairly decent contact within government in Canberra, and, you know, he has stated to me, whilst some people will speculate about the impact of those change.org and similar types of petitions, once you get in the thousands, and in particular sort of across the 10,000 mark, they absolutely pay attention to it. At the end of the day, they're people making an effort, even if it is only 30 or 45 seconds to sign the petition. They're voters at the end of the day, and they'll be paying attention to it. And the more exposure we can get of that petition out there to clients, we have an iPad set up on our front desks, and a little sign saying, you know, if you care about this, please sign the petition, and they just sign the petition while they're waiting and paying. You know, it's little simple things like that. If you've already got that sort of equipment and you've got an iPad or something, you could simply put it at your reception desk and get people and your clients involved in it. They do care. Like, they all ask questions about it. We put flyers around our clinic sort of letting people know what's going on, and they do absolutely care. So the more people we can get to sign that petition that AMT started, the better, I think.
Oh, so that's the AMT one. I've seen a couple of going around, but AMT seems to be the ones leading the charge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
And on your flyers that you have in your clinic as well, what information do you provide on those for your clients? Pretty basic,
and I'm happy to send a copy of the one that we do have. It basically states the simple information, which is there is a review. It's happening in April. They are reviewing it because there isn't enough approved research to state that there are enough health benefits for remedial massage to potentially continue providing the rebate to the private health funds. So if you care about it and you value getting treatment at our clinic or any clinic, please support us so that we can keep rebates, you know, within the private health system and ensure that they are the best possible ones that you can be getting for you and your family. That's pretty much what it says. So it says, if you care, please go to this website. It takes this long. Please sign the petition. So, yeah.
This is all with, that was only on the 3rd of March, just gone, the announcement that there's going to be a price increase just been approved for the private health funds as well.
Yeah. So they're going to be getting more money for reducing benefits.
Yes.
But I mean, in saying that, they'll be getting more money, but, you know, if the rebate's removed, then obviously that's a significant cut. You know, it's 34 million annually, apparently, they say, for what they provide to private health funds for, you know, alternative health modalities or natural therapies, whichever you want to call it. So, you know, it is absolutely a decent chunk that would be taken away. So whilst the amounts are going up for private health, if they're getting that taken out from underneath them at the same time, I'd understand if I was private health funds, why they would be reducing their benefits. So it'll definitely make an impact.
It was always a selling point for health funds many years ago, the remedial massage side of things, and slowly they've kind of drawn a lot of people in. Then the 30% rebates was another one that tickled a failing system of health funds. So
the thing that frustrates me is that I haven't been able to get information from HiCaps breaking down what is the industry which takes up the largest portion of the 34 million that this modality, that this review is on. In my opinion, and through the limited information I have been able to gain, you know, we're clumped in the same bucket as, you know, yoga and iridology and, you know, all these other modalities. What one do they really think the majority of the Australian general public will be actually utilising the most? Why are they focusing on the ones when it comes to, you know, the 7:30 report and the newspaper articles? Why do they focus on the things like yoga and all these other ones which potentially have less credibility amongst the Australian public? You know, the Wallabies don't tour with a yoga instructor or an iridologist, you know. They tour with a remedial soft tissue therapist, and they've been doing it for years for a damn good reason. And if they're trying to, you know, I was sitting there watching that guy, was it Friends of Science? The gentleman that's a doctor, a head of, oh God, it was killing me. And, you know, I bet you he's a Wallabies fan, and I would love for Johnny Els to sit down and square him in the eyes and tell him exactly what benefit he got out of getting remedial treatment in his years of playing rugby, you know, and to state that there was zero health benefit that any of those sporting teams and our elite athletes have ever got. And I know athletes are only a small portion, but they're the ones that, of course, get the most impact when it comes to, you know, the Australian public paying attention. So, you know, for them to sit in front of any of those guys that play football or tennis or whatever it may be, you know, all of the clinics out there across the country, the good ones would have looked after elite athletes of some level, you know, and to say there's not enough of a health benefit is just really a bit of a joke, and I don't know who they're trying to convince themselves or others or what's going on there, but it's it's frustrating. So yeah, at this stage, as far as I can see, the best thing that we can be doing is getting support for the the petition that's out there, anybody that does have data that could potentially back the trend that I was talking about before, awesome. And then dependent on the review outcome and also leading into the review outcome, if I was a business, I would absolutely be giving information to my clients about which health funds they are going to get the best value out of when it comes to remedial massage treatments per fund per annum. So they're the things I would be doing.
Well, I think that's about it in a nutshell, Kristy.
Yeah.
I commend you and I thank you very much for doing what you're doing, because you are the person in Australia that's leading the charge and at least putting up some sort of fight for us. And it seems to be a good value fight too.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I mean, I don't want to diss by any means. I know the associations have done a hell of a lot over the years, and I'm sure in some scopes they're thinking that I'm just doing the same thing that they're doing, but I'm really just trying to come at it from a different angle. And the one thing that we all as therapists and businesses all have that associations don't is a list of thousands of clients that really care about what they're getting from their therapist every time they come in to see them, and that's something the associations don't have access to. So I think we need to leverage that. So I'm trying to do that from our level as best we possibly can. And, I don't know whether my meeting and my conversations and what I'm going to present is going to make a world of difference or not. But I am going to be happy just to say that at least we gave it a damn good crack. And we did the best that we could with what we had to try to make a positive influence on the decision and the outcome. And regardless of the opinions of people in different levels of association, some think that we don't need to worry about a damn thing and everything's under control. Some really don't think that at all. But, at our level, we don't have the pleasure of being able to just sit there on our hands and hope that the bureaucrats, politicians and associations are just going to do the right thing. I feel like we have to make an effort, and so I'm just trying to do it. I know not every business has the time either, and because we are a bigger clinic, I know that we've probably got the best ability to be able to give it the time it deserves to present it from a small business angle. So I hope it makes a positive difference. I don't know whether it will or not, but yeah, time will tell.
Well, I guess that's the main thing with the associations, that they're just hamstrung or handcuffed by the politics of what they do. Yeah. They're kind of bogged down in politics rather than looking at it from a business point of view. So.
Yeah, and look, it's not like that. I don't think it's that they haven't tried to present the business angle. I think, from what conversations I've had, they absolutely have. But I just don't think they've got the ability to get the access of the kind of information that we do at our level. So, and I guess from the response that I got, that's the case. So, I know the associations have done a hell of a lot of work. I question sometimes the way that they've gone about communicating that. But, they'll do it the way that they wish to. And, I'll give it a damn good go from our angle, and hopefully somewhere in the middle, everybody's made an element of a positive contribution to the outcome, which will hopefully go our way.
Well, I should just put in perspective too that you and Kelly Townsend up at No More Knots up in Queensland there, is it 600 odd appointments a week you guys do up there?
Yeah, between 600 and 700 we see, and we've got a team of, with admin and therapists, about 50. That fluctuates a little bit depending on time of year and whatnot. So, yeah, we've got certainly a little family to look after, and that's in the back of my mind all the time as well, and certainly in the back of Kelly's. We really feel like we want to do the best thing for, obviously, the industry and all the other little businesses out there, but also for our team. We want to try and make sure that we can give them the best possible opportunity to stay working in the industry that they really love. So, and for our clients.
Putting that in perspective, like 10%, that's 60 to 70 appointments a week, and then that's 2 or 3 therapists.
That across the therapists, and the ones that haven't been able to, the ones I know off the top of my head, the names of my therapists that haven't got the ability to have Medibank claims to go through with them, they literally are struggling at the moment. They're opening up additional hours. They're trying to do the best they can in a situation whereby they are definitely restricted in comparison to other therapists. So it's really frustrating for them, and I'm sure that they are hoping to see the back of all the issues. But they're they're a great team, and they're very grateful that we're trying to do our best here too. So yeah, I just hope that it goes our way in the end, and hopefully it will.
Yeah, well, translating that to your general therapist who's working as a sole trader or whatever, if they're doing 20 appointments a week, that's 2 appointments a week that they're going to be down.
And that's across 52 weeks in a year, or 48, 4 weeks holiday, whatever. That's a hell of a lot across a year, and they've been impacted since September 2013. So it's a lot.
And then that's just one health fund.
Yep.
So if the others follow suit.
Right.
All right, well, I'm glad you're going into bat for us, Kristy. Absolutely, it was fantastic talking to you today. And I really do appreciate it. And I know that all the therapists that I know that are affected by this and will continue to be affected by this until it changes, I deeply appreciate what you're doing as well. So thank you to you, and thank you to Kelly and No More Knots as well. And thank you.
Absolutely, very, very happy to.
Well, talk again soon, hopefully, with some good news.
Yeah, take care. If you've got any other questions or suggestions, we're very open to hearing them. So just shoot me an email or give me a call if you wanted to chat any further.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kristy.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Take care.